And here we go. Welcome, everybody. My name's Steve Gurney, and I am the founder of Positive Aging Sourcebook. And I've got a real treat for you today because we are going to meet some of the people behind the DC villages. And Stephanie Chong, Stephanie, you are the executive director of the Northwest Neighbors Village. Before we get into meeting everybody and learning about the value of villages, can you provide us with first an overview of what is a village, and then also what is the DC Village organization?
Sure. Thank you for having us, Steve. We're delighted to be here and to let the community know about what villages are and where we are in your community. As Steve mentioned earlier, there are 13 villages in the District of Columbia, and we are working hard to make that number grow. We all work together, and but also very separately in our own communities, providing a network of resources and opportunities that enable older adults to thrive as they age in their community. Because we are so hyper-local, we're able to tailor the programs and services to the seniors in our local communities, whether that be through neighbor-to-neighbor support, through a vetted and trained volunteer, or specific programming that is of interest to our neighbors. We're very much a member-driven organization and committed to meeting the changing needs of our older adults as they age in our community. I'm delighted to share that along with the other villages, we support one another by sharing resources. There have been plenty of opportunities for us, particularly during COVID, to cross-promote programs where we've been able to work to reduce social isolation among older adults in the community and provide opportunities for engagement in a time, particularly where loneliness and isolation was a tremendous risk. We provide transportation, opportunities for friendly visits, and many, many other services tailored to older adults.
Wow, so I know these are great resources, and it's great that the District of Columbia has so many villages in their region and that you all are collaborating together. So I'll come back to you in a bit there, Stephanie, but I'm real excited to get to meet some of the other folks that we have on this discussion. And the first is Kathy Pointer. And Kathy, you're part of the Kingdom Care Senior Village. Can you share with us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in participating in the village activities?
Yes, thank you. As Stephanie said, Steve, thank you so much for having us. My name is Kathy Pointer, and I'm the director of the Kingdom Care Senior Village. And I'm a part of a faith-based organization, a church in Southeast Washington. And we've just always provided services to seniors and a lot of services in our neighborhood, in our community. And so I just kind of saw an opportunity to connect with the village movement, was not aware of it at all, kind of heard about it, read about it. And then at that point, there was a DC Office on Aging put out an RFP that they really wanted a village in our community, in the Ward 8 area. There were some in other wards in the city, but there was not one east of the Anacostia River. And we responded to that RFP and we were successful. And we just started from there, really. We felt we already had a model that aligned with what the villages do. So we didn't see it being outside really of what we were already doing. And we had a passion already to help seniors, to really support senior adults as they age with resources, connectivity, companionship, and all of that. So that's how we got involved with the movement. And we're still one of the newer ones in our network, but we feel very, very supported by the entire network, as Stephanie said.
Great. And how many folks right now are members of the Kingdom Care Senior Village?
Well, right now we have 54 members, and we're working to grow that. We're actually in the midst of a kind of awareness campaign. We've been kind of reluctant to really grow beyond our capacity to really support seniors because they really need the support. And in our ward, Ward 8, there are over 15,000 seniors, and there's just no way we can support them all. Our village is a little different in that respect, in that most of the villages are community centered in a neighborhood, and ours was more kind of across the ward. So we're very hesitant and reserved about really trying to grow beyond our capacity to support seniors, but we absolutely want to do that, and we're making efforts now. We're visiting communities now, just kind of sharing a little bit more about the village.
Great, great. And they told me to call you Bobo, but I'm curious. You go by Bobo, but Bobo. First off, make sure that you tell us your given name, and then tell us a little bit about how you've been involved with the Kingdom Care Senior Village, and a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, my given name is Gulliford Bobo. A lot of people had problems pronouncing my first name, so I just dropped the first name and just started using the last name. I've been advocating for seniors since 2010 when I joined the Ward 8 Mini Commission on Aging. And in 2013, I became the chair of the Mini Commission. In 2017, I joined the Commission on Aging for the entire District of Columbia as a commissioner. My passion for the senior villages started, I guess, in 2015, 2016. As a member of the Commission on Aging, I visited these different senior villages throughout the city. And I realized that was a needed asset that we needed in Ward 8 or east of the river. So I began campaigning for a village in Ward 8 back in 2016, 2017. We tried one village, but the village wasn't successful because getting people familiar with the concept was a challenge in itself. But I've been a part of the Kingdom Care Village. I was very enthusiastic when I first heard that Ms. Pointer was going to start this village, and I've been a strong advocate ever since that, making sure that it succeed in its purpose.
You know, I hear some kids in the background there,
Yeah.
and which is totally fine, because I think one of the main concepts of the village movement is the intergenerational aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is that this is not just older adults, this is connecting all the generations to support older adults. And when we do that, we actually create support for young people too. Is there, aside from the intergenerational activities going on in Bobo's house, is there some is there connection with the generations in the Kingdom Care Senior Village?
And if I could respond to that, Steve, we certainly do. We have volunteers that are younger. They just love connecting with the seniors, providing whatever that is, delivery services or support with games and activities, or set up when we were having events, or whatever the case may be. He can certainly speak for himself, but we do try to make sure that that is the case, because we agree with you as well that it takes all of us to support our seniors as they age. And especially we see it a lot in the African American community, that children take care of parents, and vice versa. We see quite a bit of that.
That's great. Well, let me, I'm going to come back to everybody, but I don't want to leave out Ann Ingram there, who is involved with the Northwest Neighbors Village. And tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Northwest Neighbors Village.
I went to to a farm truck. I was one of these people that every Saturday I went to the farm truck, and there was a very nice young woman sitting there at a table with a sign that said Northwest Neighbors Village. And I said, what's that? And she said, oh, we're here to serve seniors. And I thought, well, I'm probably going to need help when I get to be a senior. So I signed up. And so I was a volunteer even before Stephanie came with the village. Mostly what I had done is transportation, taking people to doctor's appointments, the grocery store, that sort of thing. And also during COVID, we had a telephone tree where we would check in with neighbors to see how they're doing. The telephone tree started as a winter thing. When we'd have a snowstorm, we'd call and say, are you okay? Do you need any help shoveling out? This sort of thing. So it's both telephoning and transportation is what I have done. And then I got older and I had knee surgery, and all of a sudden I needed help. So I became a member. And wow, what service. I was so impressed. I had to go to lots of doctor's appointments and physical therapy. And for 1 month, I did not have to order a cab or Uber. Volunteers took me to wherever I needed to go. Golly, was I impressed. So I think it's a wonderful movement. I think it started in Massachusetts and not that long ago, maybe
This is-
15 years.
Yeah, this is
Stephanie,
a relative-
are you nodding 15 or 20 years ago? But I think Washington has more villages than anybody else. It's not that we have more seniors, we have more smart people, because it's not only the services, but it's the friendships you make. I mean, the one person that I drive regularly, she and I have become very close friends. And another volunteer that I was telephoning, she and I have become very close friends. And so it's a social advantage as well as a health advantage to be a member of the village. So I can't extol them highly enough. In my professional life, I was a director of volunteers for the Travelers Aid Society. And although I wasn't a social worker, I was involved with social workers, and that of course is a social work agency. And I'm very impressed with the volunteers at Northwest Neighbors Village. They're super.
This is great, Ann. And
Yeah.
you know, I mean, if there's a reason to get involved with the villages, you really elaborated it in that, hey, I may need some services in the future, so I'm going to get involved with this group and volunteer. And what's great is that you're actually able to tell the story of how you transitioned, you paid into the system as a volunteer, and then you got the reward of being the recipient of the wonderful volunteers just like you in Northwest.
And I'm volunteering again. I mean, I'm now back to driving, so I'm taking my weekly grocery run with my member, and it's great. It's great, and it's wonderful to be able to get back to the grocery store.
Excellent, great. Well, so Stephanie, you and Kathy are the administrator back office for the villages. Tell us a little bit about, the role that an executive director plays, and do all of the villages in DC have executive directors, or some run entirely by volunteers?
Yeah, there's a mix of village types in the district. I think 4 of us are run in a volunteer style model, and then the rest of us have paid executive directors, and some even have some additional paid staff. But really the heart of the work is carried out by volunteer support, and they're local neighbors who have been vetted. They go through a criminal background check, they go through a driving background check. And we provide not only training in the beginning, but ongoing training throughout their work to make sure that our volunteers are well prepared and supported so that they can provide quality care and friendly service to our members. So executive directors really are doing, we're spinning a lot of plates at one time, all the time. Not only are we making sure that we have competent and excellent volunteer support, but we're also making sure that we have adequate funding to keep the organization running, whether that be through grant writing and fundraising that we have to do throughout the year to support the services that we offer. And lots of operational stuff, making sure that we're communicating with the community, that we're staying visible, that we're staying relevant. We're always evolving as a village. And that was what attracted me to coming to this work. I found it so refreshing to leave the formalized senior services that I had done for years, both in senior housing as well as care management, and go to a very member-driven organization. It's just a delight to be sort of the vessel between what the members' wants and needs are and to getting that to them in one way or another. We're also a tremendous resource to our members and our volunteers. We keep up to date on not only aging services, but also who's a good plumber to refer to, how we created a new service called the Transportation Buddy to help members start to use Uber and Lyft. That actually came from my own personal experience being anxious to use Uber for the first time. And I thought, well, if I'm anxious, I bet our members would be anxious too. So lots of fantastic opportunities for creativity and to meet the needs that are ever changing within our aging population.
That's great. And Kathy, as the director of your village, can you give us sort of any insight on what that's like in your organization?
And sure, and I'm actually one of a director that is not paid. I don't use the title executive director. I just use the title director. I kind of see myself as directing the program itself and the activities. So I'm not a paid staff person. Volunteer, which is great. Our whole team is more volunteers, although we do get a little bit of funding that we do stipend some of them occasionally. But as Stephanie said, it's really just trying to keep, for me, making sure that all the pieces come together so we can sustain the village and be successful, that we can provide the services that, as Stephanie said, trying to stay relevant, offering activities and programs for the seniors, doing the awareness in our communities, working with volunteers, making sure we're communicating, the website is up and running, we're sending out materials, we're visiting our seniors, we're sending cards and recognizing birthdays, all those things that we do as a village, trying to also do special events. We try to do, several during the year where we just gift them with some kind of gift item or outing or whatever that is. So we're really, I do a lot of work just trying to keep those things going and supporting just the whole base of what we do on an everyday basis.
Great, great. And Bobo, do you have any sort of benefits that you've either seen yourself or seen other members sort of benefiting from being part of this unique village community?
Yes, quite a few benefits ranging from technology. I had one of my seniors, and Ms. Pointer can relate to, she's one of our favorite seniors. She's 100 and what, 3 or 4? She's 105
She'll be
now.
Yeah.
She's about 105 now, but she learned how to do the computer, and I guess she was about 100 when she started taking computer classes. So, and how enthusiastic she was. And I have other members that have been in car accidents and other issues, and they all relied on the village to get them through that, because a lot of times when you get of age, trying to maintain your independence, a lot of them have had kids and things that have moved away. So that only source of support is through things like the village that support, and they put a lot of trust in the village and its leadership.
That's great. And, Anne, for you, when you were talking about getting rides from all these people over this period of a month and how wonderful they were, did you develop any friendships with some of these folks giving you rides? And
Oh, yeah. What a lovely bunch. I mean, it was just, oh, chatting with people, they don't stonily drive you. I mean, we're chatting and we're visiting, and there I count my coterie of friends has expanded mightily. It's just a wonderful agency. And also, there have been times, I understand, I have not had the problem, but a volunteer will go and discover that the person that they're trying to help is in trouble, and they can summon help, which is, it gives that little extra emergency help factor that people without families really need. And it's there used to be telephone reassurance programs, and this fills that need also. And I have to say, we are very lucky because we've had such creative programming during the pandemic when we could not get together. But Zooming, meetings on Zoom and reassurance programs on Zoom have been a tremendous help. And we're very lucky in having a very creative staff that has thought of things for our village to do together without being together in person. And it's been a great help during this difficult year.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great program, I gotta say.
Great. Well,
Steve?
this has been a wonderful conversation, and I would say I always like to close these with, if there's any additional items that you would like to add or words of wisdom, jump in now. And I'm really excited to get to know all 13 villages in the DC Village group. This is going to be a really great project for me too.
Steve, I'd like to expand on what Anne just mentioned about being alone and sort of that emergency response. I think there are two things that there are a lot of things that make the village unique, but two things stand out in mind. One is really the proactive nature of the villages. I'm a geriatric social worker. I always met a client after they had a series of crises that brought them to my door. And it's just the opposite with the villages. We have the opportunity, because our volunteers are trained, to recognize subtle areas that we should be addressing before they become large crises. We also have the opportunity to educate our members about resources that are available to them that they may not have known about otherwise. I heard that all the time in my career as a social worker. I wish I would have known about you when, and it was always a very regretful statement that broke my heart, quite frankly. And then the other piece is just the relative informality of the village. It's certainly, from a staff's perspective, and I'm sure Kathy's experience is the same as the director, there's nothing informal about the work that we do, but it's carried out in a very informal way. When you have a neighbor providing assistance with someone, or a peer, many of our volunteers themselves are retirees, getting involved, first off, it doesn't feel like help. And second, it feels natural and it feels nice to have a neighbor. I've been turned away plenty of times as a social worker, just because that title was behind my name. Um, we're building community. We happen to be working with older adults. But really, when it comes down to it, it's at the heart of the village is really strengthening our communities to value our seniors and be there for them in any way that they need and to let them drive the ship. It's a very reciprocal relationship for our members and volunteers.
Love it.
I would just like to just say, Steve, I would like to add to my final thoughts would be, I remember when we first started the village, I went to a national meeting, and one slogan that I heard was, when you've seen one village, you've seen one village. And that really stays in my mind, because what Stephanie said earlier, it allows us to do is to really support the seniors in our community. Every community is different. We certainly are more alike than different in terms of what we need, but how you go about providing those services, what types of services, at what level, the different things that different people need. It allows you, the village really allows you to really hone in on the seniors who are part of your village and support in that way. So I think that that's extremely important, that is there to allow you to really support your members.
I love it. Well, Bobo or Ann, if you've got any sort of closing statements to add, I think we can start to wrap up this conversation. And it's really been a great opportunity for me to get to know all of you.
It's been fun. I do have to add one thing. Stephanie talked about being a resource. My daughter called the village because all of a sudden mom was having problems and would need some equipment and some help. And the village was wonderfully helpful to her, telling her where to go to get equipment and where to go to get help for when I got out of the hospital. I'll tell you something, poor Judy, my daughter, was really up a tree, and it was very helpful to her. And she's not a member of the village, but I have a sneaking hunch she's going to be soon. It's just a great institution.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And I will look forward to more of these conversations later.